Hello, this is your lab final. In this lab final, I have asked you to measure the internal resistance of a cell. We have discussed that in detail in the theory class. The internal resistance of a cell. We normally represent the internal resistance by the lowercase r. Well, I'm going to refresh your memory on some of the important points. If you connect a cell directly to a voltmeter, what the voltmeter measures is the EMF of the cell. So, in order to measure the EMF, you simply connect the voltmeter across the cell. And that is the first thing I have asked you to do in the test. Measure the EMF of the cell, and that is your E. If you now allow the cell to drive a current in an external resistance R, the voltmeter reading will be now less than the EMF E. We call that the terminal potential difference. The terminal potential difference, we call that V. And in the exam, I have asked you to measure the terminal potential difference for 7 different values of R. So what I'm going to do is, I will set up the equipment and change the value of R 7 times, and I will give you the values. I will not write them down here. Each time I change R, I will tell you what it is. And measure the terminal potential difference each time. So you will have a table of resistance R, the external resistance, and the terminal potential difference. And you know, we had obtained an equation for internal resistance in terms of the external resistance and the terminal potential difference. Well, I'm going to write down the 3 equations I had given you. The complete equation for the circuit is E equal to I times big R plus small r, where small r is the internal resistance of the cell. And for the external circuit, the terminal potential difference is V equal to IR. And using these 2 equations, we obtained an equation for the internal resistance. Alright, now I want you to use these 2 equations and obtain an equation for the internal resistance in terms of the variables. The variables are the external resistance R and the terminal potential difference. Those 2 are the variables. So obtain an equation for internal resistance R in terms of the external resistance and the terminal potential difference, and write that equation in the form y equal to mx. And then draw a graph of your dependent variable on the y-axis, your independent variable on the x-axis, measure its slope, and use the slope of that graph to find the value of R. That is your lab. And of course, answer the questions. Alright, I'm now going to set up the equipment so that you can take the values of the terminal potential difference V for different values of R. And first, I will set up so that you can measure the EMF E. Here I have the cell connected directly to the voltmeter, and the external resistor is not connected. I have disconnected the external resistor. So read the voltmeter reading when the cell is connected directly to it, and that will help you to answer the first question. Alright, I'm now going to introduce a resistance of 1 ohm. 1 ohm. I will not write it down, and I'm going to connect the resistance to the cell over here. I'm going to connect the resistance to the cell. A resistance of 1 ohm is now connected, and that measure the terminal potential difference for R equal to 1 ohm. I'm now going to change the resistance to 2 ohms. That is 2 ohms. Measure that terminal potential difference. And now I'm going to change the resistance to 3 ohms. That is the terminal potential difference for 3 ohms. And now I'm going to change it to 4 ohms. Measure the terminal potential difference. 5 ohms. I'm going to change now to 5 ohms. You got now 5 values. Okay. I'm now going to change it to 10 ohms. Alright. Now this is 10 ohms. And I'm now going to change it to 20 ohms. You have now 7 values of the external resistor and the corresponding terminal potential difference. You can now continue with finishing the exam and then upload it. Well, this lab course, I don't know how you enjoyed this lab online. Have you been able to interact well with the equipment setup? Well, I know I enjoyed tremendously being a lab partner for you. I would like to hear from you about your reaction. Is there anything different that I can do to improve? Did you really learn from this lab course? Well, so get back to me and let me know how you feel about it. In the meantime, I wish you all the best, and whatever you intend to do in the future, all the best.